So what are the risks of these things? Well, first of all, there's physical harms. So in that terrible case I was talking about, that baby that died in Germany, there are cases of deaths of people dying after stem cell transplants that are purchased from stem cell clinics that are unlicensed, unregulated, unresearched and unmonitored. Probably the most confronting case for me was a baby that died and their parents consented to a brain autopsy, and on the brain autopsy she actually had rabbit cells in her brain. Not the cells she'd been transplanted were not even human cells. So yes, they were stem cells, but they weren't even human. So these are really, really important, that it's very clear if you're going to buy these things that are what we call off-label, do you actually know what you're buying? There are financial risks. So for Australians that travel overseas to buy stem cells, the average cost is somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000 Australian to buy one series of stem cells. So obviously if you're a person that's very committed to this and you don't get a cure the first time, then it's a repeat treatment. So this is very expensive. It's not uncommon for me to get one phone call a week from someone who will say, should I mortgage my house to go and buy these cells? So these are very serious burdens on people's lives, particularly when we are lucky enough to live in a country with socialised medicine, where I can guarantee you if these treatments are effective, they will be put on Medicare as free treatments. Thirdly, there are psychological effects from this. So a very big study conducted in Australia looking at the reasons why people might travel overseas to buy stem cells, why Australians might do this, was first of all they believed that they were blocked from getting these safe, effective treatments here in Australia, that Australia was behind, and that they were medical pioneers going and buying something that was new and was a frontier. And so that was a psychological harm that was happening to them, because there was this energy coming from feeling that they were having to lead Australia and do the right thing by this country because the country wasn't doing the right thing by them. So that's a very heavy, weighty burden to bear. Here's a photograph from the newspaper of a parent that asked for fundraising dollars to help her vision to get her child's stem cells overseas. And for her, she said in the paper, for us, it's enough. We have enough proof that it already works. If you're thinking about buying stem cells, or if people are asking you, should I buy stem cells? I want to point you to these very reputable websites that all have a series of questions that you can kind of go through like a checklist. So a little bit like if you wanted to look at Choice magazine before you bought a car, this is a good idea of questions you might want to ask a stem cell provider before you purchase stem cells. So the Australian Stem Cell Handbook has a lovely series of questions that are very open-ended. The Eurostem Cell group also has a section, and both of these have sections written on cerebral palsy, which I was happy to help them write. They're very up-to-date sections. And the Canadian group also have one, and there's another new website called Closer Look at stemcells.org as well, which is another really useful resource. So any of those three big major centres looking at patient information are very helpful thinking points.